Okay. Call a meeting to order with a prayer. Almighty God, we ask for your guidance and direction as we come together to meet. Grant us the strength to manage the challenges ahead and the wisdom to identify these as opportunities as we strive to serve the citizens of Crescent Springs. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Chad Longbonds, Vince Albanese,
Here.
Christy Arlinghouse, Joel McMonagle,
Here.
Bob Mueller,
Here.
Patrick Hackett,
Here.
What happened to my... Yeah. Got some right. Okay. Approval of minutes from February 10th, 2020 council meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 10th council meeting.
Christie's made a motion.
I'll second that.
Vince a second.
Vince Albanese,
Yeah.
Christy Arlinghouse,
Yes.
Jim McMonagle,
Yes.
Patrick Hackett,
Yes.
Bob Mueller.
Yes.
Okay. Next item is KLC. I'd like to welcome Dawn Harlow, Mark Snyder, and Mayor Hamburg.
Thank you. We appreciate being here. Thank you all
you.
for inviting us.
We do appreciate your time, and my name is Jim Hamburg. I'm the mayor of the city of Southgate, and I serve as the vice chair for the Kentucky League of Cities Investment Pool, and we appreciate your time. Mark Snyder is with us also. Mark is with PNC Bank. Mark will speak in a few minutes. We started this pool, to give you an idea, last session, we had fought for many years, for a couple of years, and decided that an investment pool where we all invested in ourselves would be a good thing to look at. So we went after House Bill 69, which was passed last session, and was put into effect. In doing that, through Don's expertise and also through J.D. Cheney, and also with our president, our KLC president, with Bill Deere, we went ahead and who was the chairman of the Kentucky League of Cities Investment Pool. We went ahead and did an RFP, and with that, we found that PNC was the best of the of those that were providing the RFP responses back to us. So in doing that, we constructed 5 funds, and Mark will talk to you about those funds in a minute, that are here today. Depends upon, obviously, we're in some different times right now, a little bit economic different times, as you all know.
Yeah.
Being a former banker, as many of you know me, as a banker from a few banks here locally, and retiring out of U.S. Bank and commercial real estate, I've never seen the 10-year rate so low in my life, in my lifetime anyway, but it's not to say it's gonna last. I don't think it will anyway, but who knows what's coming up. But we wanted to go ahead and give cities an option about just not going down the street and investing in a CD. It's fine and dandy to do that, but at the same point too, there's other options that are out there, whether it be in a bond market, whether it be in some form of a Russell stock fund, or whether it be in short term, or whether it be in whatever else that's in here. And again, Mark will talk to those options for you. We took a look at this to say, okay, how do we invest in ourselves? And this is how we do those things. We invest in ourselves by the cities all investing in this pool. Is there money to be made? Of course there is, and it's back to the cities in this case. Typically for funds like this, we see that the fees will be at least 1% or better from what is accumulated from the entire fund. We negotiated with PNC and got that down to actually a quarter. And then also with us, we take 10 basis points, not 10%, but 10 basis points off of that. So 35 basis point is what the fees are that comes through with what is made off of these funds. Really low. You're not going to find that in any brokerage. I can tell you that today, with what you're looking at. Also, what we did, we said, okay, let's take another look at this. And being a former banker, as I mentioned, always dealt with relationship managers. It's great to have a branch manager locally, don't get me wrong with that. It's fantastic to do that. You've got a bank right next door to you over here, it's been there forever. And there was other banks before it is today, but you've got one right next door to you, and it's no problem in doing that. But the nice thing about it is, with this, is that you've got a branch manager that may change there, you've got other personnel that will change, but you've always got the relationship managers at PNC. They've been there forever, and Mark again can talk to the longevity there within that department. Mark Snyder is one of the guys we deal with. You know, you have Kevin Hill, and also with Bill that's out there too as well, that's on their side. There are 3 gentlemen that we work with specifically, and they were the ones that we've been together ever since last year in July, and will be there forever as far as that goes, as far as the longevity goes. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mark, and Mark will be a little more direct with the funds that are in here for you all with the various 5 options that we've got. We chose these 5 options for one reason, and that is in today's market, we could have other options out there for you, and certainly down the road, we probably will have 2 or 3 or 4 other options, maybe as we go forward here. But to get into the fund, we thought this would be the easiest thing to do. If you decide to do this, and I would encourage you to do this, to open an account with the provider, with PNC, no cost or obligation to do that. You don't need to throw anything in there. There are some things that Don can walk you through that we have to do to update your investment policy, which probably could be done or may need to be looked at anyway going in. I know we looked at ours once we get into this and found that there were some things that we need to make some adjustments with. So it's probably good to do that anyway, to update your policy. And then 2, to take a look at what type of an agreement. There's a memorandum of understanding, a memorandum of agreement that you'd have to go along with us to go along with the KLC to authorize you all to be in the pool at that particular time. So any questions before I turn it over to Mark? All right, I'll turn it over to Mark Snyder. So Mark from PNC, you are up.
Thank you very much, Eric, and good evening, everyone. Yeah, my name is Mark Snyder, obviously with PNC Institutional Asset Management Group, and I've been with PNC for 27 years. And I work exclusively with institutional clients and endowment and foundation clients, and kind of building customized solutions to meet their needs, and that's what we've done with the KLC. And, you know, I believe there's a few key points when you're going to invest money that you really want to pay attention to and have exposure to. One is broad diversification. You want to be very efficient when you manage your money, and you want to have a lot of flexibility so that you can easily meet your changing needs over time. And I believe this program gives you all 3 of those factors very well. It allows you to diversify your investments, plain and simple, and that's really the point. As Mayor mentioned, it costs nothing to open an account with us. It costs nothing to move money back and forth or to change an allocation or anything like that. But it gives you the opportunity to have additional buckets that really in a complement to your existing program. So you can have your money market funds, CDs, you know, that type of thing, but you can also have exposure to funds that within a money market fund, government bond fund, bonds and stocks as well. So it gives you that broad diversification, so you can really look at your investable assets more like a portfolio and manage them, really to make them work a little harder for you, get a little more earnings, and then you can also break them down as you need to, and that's where the efficiency comes into play. With this type of a program, these are unitized pools, so you can invest a small amount of money in a very large pool at a very low price. And so that's what we're offering to cities across the state. A number have already joined the pool or already taken advantage of investing into the various funds. And so that helps them, get that exposure and kind of the diversification and start that plan. In regards to flexibility, you can open up as many accounts as you need. Like I said, you'll have online access to those accounts, but you may have look at your investable assets in a different light. Look at where do we want to be in 5 years? What programs do we have, or general fund, or really the time horizon of the money is the critical component. So you really want to look at, we're going to plan to have a building project in 3 years. You can set that money aside, have a separate account, and have a different asset allocation just for that pool of money. And you can adjust it a little more conservatively as you get closer to the project, as an example. You can take, if you have money that's really long-term, kind of rainy day money that you're not planning to spend, you can almost treat that like an endowment. You can set that up with a more of an aggressive asset allocation and take a spending policy off of that. And then you set the distribution rate on that. It gives you more flexibility. So you can take a chunk of money, invest it, 60% in stocks, 40% in bonds, and hey, we're gonna take 4% every year. And we're gonna put it right in our revenue line. And just let the portfolio run. That's what endowments do within universities and things. So part of our job is to bring ideas to the table, help you kind of think through what your needs are, help you look at various asset allocations, whatever your needs may be. That's we're a fiduciary. We're on your side of the table, so we're a partner in this. So we kind of help kick ideas around and make sure that we're structured properly. In the folders that you have, there was a page, I think, on the right side that had like a little diagram. And we'll run through that real quickly. And we've already covered some of the points. But in regards to the overall program, we have 5 unitized pools that you can invest in at any time. And they're kind of in that orange box with the white lettering. A money market fund, a government bond fund, and those are funds that you could have invested in all along. So you can invest 100% of your investable assets in those types of investments if you want to. A corporate bond fund, an S&P 500 index fund, and a dividend-focused equity fund. So those, you can invest 20% of your total investable assets in the corporate bond fund, as an example, and another 20% in the stock funds, in the combination between the two. So you're already kind of from a fairly conservative viewpoint, I guess, from an investment management standpoint, and you look at your total investable assets, whatever that number is, from all of your cash, CDs, anything that you can invest, 20% of that can be invested in stocks if you want to, up to 20%. And then really, when you look at stocks, it really depends on what exposures are you looking for. We started out with just the S&P 500 index fund, but pursuant to the law, it has to be a company that's in the S&P 500, and you can't have more than a 5% holding of that company. As we went around and started talking with cities, we found that everyone was focused on yield because that's all they've ever been accustomed to. So we thought that a dividend-focused strategy, which is a subset of companies out of the S&P that really are focused on growing their high-quality companies, growing their dividends, paying a higher dividend, would be attractive to cities as they get a higher income stream as they're kind of dipping their toe in the equity market, so to speak. And that portfolio, there's no additional expense ratio. It's 35 basis points. It's an actively managed portfolio with a long-term track record. And it's, the current yield's 2.8% on that fund versus 50 basis points or so on a treasury note, as an example today. So it really gives you some flexibility, and we'll get into those in a second. But then from an accounting perspective and flexibility, that's where it kind of goes down into the next little section. That the Crescent Springs would be established as a master within our system. And we set up whoever the authorized signers are, those individuals would have online access to the accounts. So they could see the account activity on a daily basis. Pull them up, and we'd have monthly statements and income allocated to those accounts. But then down in the kind of the lighter blue boxes, you can open up as many accounts as you need. Whether it's a general fund, a road fund, a public works fund, whatever you need. And every city is different. So you just, and each one of those separate accounts can have a different asset allocation. You have accounts that are 100% money market, you have an account that's 100% stock, but your total means just looking at 20%. Like I said, it costs nothing to get it established. So that way, if the CD matures and you turn around, we're going to be in a low interest rate environment for a while, a significantly low interest rate environment. So you might want to have other options to turn to for, and right now, the diversification, the government bond fund, is up, probably pushing 4% year to date through yesterday. Because everyone is kind of looking for safety and they're going into treasuries. And those funds would focus on total return, not just yield. So the yield's just a component of the total return. We look at capital appreciation. So like the S&P index, was up 34% last year. Obviously, it was, it's down so far this year. But that's where the time horizon is critical. If you have a, say, 3+ year, that we're not going to use these funds, I would recommend it would make sense to look at an equity allocation for some of that money. So it just gives you that option.
Let me say one thing here. Mark talked a minute ago about online access, and that's something that you all can direct who can move funds in and who moves funds out. That's the other thing that you'll be able to do with this online as well. So there isn't any possibility of any interchanging things going the wrong way here is my point, I guess, overall too. Other thing is too, for transferring funds, you're looking at anywhere from probably 48 hours at a max. So if you need to move funds back, that you can have funds moved back within about 48 hours at a maximum, they'll come back to you. So if you call Mark or one of his colleagues, they'll move those funds within 2 days back to your account here or wherever other bank that you're dealing with today. So just give you an idea. So it's not like this is going to be out. It's going to be under. It's a CD that is going to be maturing, and you can't get it until then, unless you pay the price for bringing that in early. It's not that in this case at all. So sorry about that, Mark.
No problem. Yeah, liquidity is very important, so you don't have things locked up. The accounts, like I mentioned, are unitized. So every day there's a unit value. The money market fund is a stable value. It never changes. So you put $10 in, you're going to get $10 out plus interest, like a savings account, money market fund. All of the other 4 pools fluctuate on a daily basis. You can see that online. Like I said, so far the government bond fund this year is up. The equity funds are down a little bit. Last year they were up significantly. So that's where you just need that time and the balance within your portfolios, what you're trying to accomplish. The next page, on the back of that page is a summary of the various investment tools. It gives you a little more information of what we're trying to accomplish. And that's part of, being a part of the city and the program. We may, as Mayor mentioned earlier, we may add a pool over time as we see the needs and that type of thing. So as we deal with other cities, a number of them are getting in using the government bond fund to get a little more yield than the money market fund. We have a number using exposures to equities and really all 5 pools that they're using. So it kind of varies based on the cities that we've been working with. The page behind that, I know there's a lot of numbers on there, but I'll just give you a general overview of what we're trying to show you here. Is we're receiving a lot of questions of asset allocation, and because it's a new kind of concept for a lot of cities, and it varies. But we look at, within our strategists, we look at a 10-year forward capital market projections, and we do that every year. And so at the top is kind of for the 5 categories of the investment pools, what we would anticipate would be an average annualized earnings or yield or return on various asset classes over the next 10-year forward-looking period. And so we look like cash around 2% a year, down to large cap value about 7.1% a year, and the volatility and the yield and that type of thing. And so then, some various asset allocations, and if we can help you customize a program, or if you have a pool of money and I can help you establish an asset allocation, and that's kind of give you some samples at the bottom there. Let's say you take 50% in the money market fund, 50% in the government bond fund, be very conservative, get a little more yield, protect that principal. You'd expect around 2.63% average annualized return over the next 10-year period, about 2.25 yield. And then really you look at that range of returns on the right and really kind of focus on the 1 year, because that's where your volatility is going to come. And so here it's basically flat as far negative, and you can be up about 5.5%. If you go down to the bottom, more of a balanced asset allocation, this would be more like the endowment type of structure I mentioned earlier for longer term money. So you have 30% in corporate bond fund, 70% in the dividend focus fund. We'd anticipate a little over 6% return. So there you take 3.5% to 4% off, put it as revenue, and you're protecting the purchasing power of your investments over time. But, you know, there again, the 1 year, that's where is the gut check time, I guess, of, you know, if you're up 26%, everyone's happy. If you're down 10, almost 11%, you know, can you sleep at night? You know, that's the question you need to ask yourselves. And thinking through that time horizon. But we can help you if you have a specific need or something, draft an asset allocation that you know, that would work.
And to that point, Mark and his folks can work together with you all to put a ladder together, if you will, that will say, okay, these are funds that you're gonna be using down the road, these are funds you're gonna need now. In this case, maybe in the next 6 or 9 months or so. That's something that that's their expertise they can help you with.
So any questions?
Yeah, I noticed in the sample asset accounts, nobody went to the S&P 500. Is that kind
Well,
of,
I just,
is that kind of fun, people, especially what's transpiring right now?
well, it's interesting, we have a lot of cities that are using both. You know, and really, it's, do you want broad market equity exposure, or do you want more, you know, focus on income and dividends? And sometimes those type of companies are a little more defensive when the market's going south, so you're a little more low key. As an example, last year, you know, the S&P 500 was up 34%. The dividend focus fund was up 26.5%. You know, because the more value, so growth style companies were running the markets, you know. So we've had some cities invest 50-50 in both of those funds.
Okay.
There's no right or wrong answer. It's really just what you're comfortable with and what you're trying to accomplish, really, in fact of the return. Our default is to reinvest the income in the pool that it's in.
Mhm.
But we can accumulate it, we can distribute it, you know, whatever your cash flow needs are and that type of thing within the program.
Okay.
You said it was actively managed, are there transaction fees due to that?
That's a nice thing about it, that's one thing that we negotiated overall with PNC, it's a set flat 35 I mentioned to you, includes everything.
And the corporate bond fund, we're still getting that established. And you can't go out on your own and if you wanted to, and buy a corporate bond. We could not find an ETF or a mutual fund that meets the parameters of the law. You know, so we have to have a customized portfolio of high-quality corporate bonds. They have to be A or better. Investment grade is BBB rated or better. So all of the ETFs have investment grade. Well, they have BBBs, and that would fall out. And have no more maturity, no greater than 10 years. So we're building capital and kind of having a customized corporate bond fund, which will get you that additional yield spread and return over treasuries over time. But that's, again, just to diversify your investments and give you that flexibility.
Yeah, the big thing is to establish, first of all, what your investable balance is that you have. To establish that and then figure the 20%, which you need, depending upon the fund that you're looking at going into.
But we've had cities open up with the $10,000, and then as the CD matured, they kind of looked around, and then, someone put the proceeds in the government bond fund, and they put in dipped the dough in the stock fund as well, and it kind of evolved as they went along with their, if you have, obviously, it goes without saying, if you have, CDs or hold them there, obviously let them go to maturity in this environment, but when they mature, it's going to be eye-opening of what the yields look like, so, you want to have options if I were in your shoes.
Right.
Okay.
Mark, with the House bill passing, and since you guys have developed this program, you seeing positive participation from
We are.
KLC members?
We definitely are. It's taking the time right now, Mike, is more than anything with folks going back and reevaluating their investment policy. That's taking a little bit of time. It's an ordinance that has to be done to bring that through, as you know. So that's a little bit of time to make that happen, and then also with the agreement that has to be established as well.
Okay.
And then open after with the paperwork with PNC. That, I think, is in the folder. It's all in the folder that you all have. It's in there, and I can explain that to you for you as well.
Yeah, and there are other handouts, I didn't print all those off, but they're on our website. And Mike, I can send those to you. But with the House bill that passed, this is just saying, basically, you can invest now 20% in the corporate bonds, and then 20% in the equities. And there are guardrails within those, as Mark said, as to quality and percentages. So with the compliance piece, PNC, if he handles it, if Mark handles all of that for you, then he's acting as a fiduciary and also making sure that you're compliant with the investments per the law.
And that's for your audit, more than anything.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. And the pieces, as Mayor Hamburg said, you would start your investment policy to comply with House Bill 69. We have a model investment policy on our webpage, and we also would need you to join the interlocal agreement, which allows you to join into the pool, since it is an investment pool with all cities. And then you open up the account and you're ready to go. Those 3 simple steps. What other questions?
Anybody else? Thank you
Well, we
for
appreciate
your time.
Thank
Good to
you.
listen to familiar faces.
Thanks.
Mayor, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Be safe going
Thank
home.
you all.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you.
Well, our contact information is at the bottom. Any questions, just don't hesitate.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Next item, Fire Authority, Jeff.
Good evening. I'll just touch on the run numbers real quickly. 93 ambulance calls for the month of February, 172 year-to-date, 50 fire calls for January, 87 year-to-date. Total responses, 143 for the month and 259 year-to-date. Most popular question here recently has been about the coronavirus. It is an ever-changing thing with the health department with us. What our plan is right now is if the patient can stay at home, quarantined at home, they're not having trouble breathing, that is the best case scenario. We don't want to contaminate ourselves or the hospital. If they are having difficulty breathing, then we will transport them to the hospital, and then obviously everybody will be tested at that point. The other question came up recently is, yes, we did send 2 trucks to Edgewood for the large house fire. They were there approximately an hour and a half. So that's all I had, unless you have any questions.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I've been seeing a lot on the news, both here and in Florida, about first responders and police officers receiving autism awareness.
Mhm.
Have you all done any training for your first responders?
We have done, it's been almost 2 years ago, but all of our paramedics go through autism training through paramedic school. It's probably about time to do that again, so we'll definitely look into it again.
Chief?
There's nothing formal for the police department that we do. We do have some training videos, but that's about it. There's nothing formal from the state.
We can do that together, though, we
We can jump on
So-
it.
Okay, great. I appreciate it.
no problem.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks.
Brian, police report.
We had 908 calls for service last month. Total crimes 18, collisions 17, citations 82, courtesy 63, call response 11. Of the crimes, 1 was an assault, 4 were larcenies, and the rest were minor misdemeanors. Our case solvability rate is at 93.62%. K-9 did have 2 apprehensions last month. One was a burglary and the other was, I believe, a drug arrest. Other than that, got anything else on some specific questions for you?
Doesn't look like it. Thanks, Chief.
Appreciate it.
Dewey, Public Works.
I had the roof vents and the gutters repaired up at the city building. I got a few more on the other side, we're gonna do at a later date. Had the LED lights installed on the PD side, upstairs and downstairs, and had the emergency lights repaired as they were over there. I've ordered 50 ton of salt to fill the salt bin back up, because it looks like, keep our fingers crossed, it'll be warm. And I've ordered 6 floodlights, LEDs for outside here, because we're having a lot of trouble with these old ones, they've been there forever. So I've got them on order. We're getting ready to start working on the park to open it up. Probably have it open April 1st, as we always do. We changed all the banners out for spring, and we're keeping up with the potholes and keeping the drains clean throughout the city. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Dewey.
The mounds of dirt that are on the walking trail, do you intend come spring to start moving that
Well, they're
dirt
not,
out of the way?
that's where we put the pipe down through there. We
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
grade all that out, yeah. Yes.
Okay.
We'll cut them off and grade it all out and put caps on.
And then we've got kind of like the streets caving in front of the first house on Rosewood, on the left going in.
In Rosewood.
Yeah, it's all cracked up, and it's not like a normal pothole. It kind of looks like the beginning of a sinkhole.
I'll have to
You
check.
might want to take a look at it.
I'll take a look at it.
My house needs painting.
Sure, that's right.
I had painter come to my house for the nest, and I'll give you the name.
Thanks, Dewey.
You're welcome.
City Administrator's report, Mike.
Thank you, Mayor Hartfield. I have a few items I wanted to discuss. The first one is on the Firehouse Committee updates. We have a meeting this Thursday at 6:30. Right now, all members are currently reviewing the bids that have come in. We've received a total of 5 bids from 5 different firms, and that is just for Phase 1. We are having a little issue for Thursday's meeting as far as having 2 voting members from each side to actually have a quorum to move this thing forward. So hopefully this works out and we can have the meeting and move forward. Second thing is something Chief Allen and I have been discussing, and it has to do with Meadowwood. And last year, Villa Hills implemented no parking on Meadowwood from 6A to 6P. It was geared specifically around, obviously, the construction that's taking place. So obviously, in essence, there's no parking on either side from that time frame. We visited that idea last year, and I just wanted to bring it back up to see if we can put that back on the table and look at that, to where we would look in the area of 667 Meadowwood to 659 Meadowwood on both sides. If you're familiar with this roadway area, it's a right-hand curve downhill, which makes a blind curve. And we definitely have a congestion at this point, especially with the construction that's going on. So I wanted to check with council and mayor to see if it was okay to research this idea and see if we can mirror Villa Hills with this no parking.
Yeah.
Chief Allen, did I miss anything
No, sir.
on that? Something that's not on your report, while we're talking about the police department, we are still finalizing, but we're very close on the 10-year PD contract. Right now, we're just working on some wording, but that's pretty well finished, and I will be getting with Michael and working out the final draft on that and moving forward. And lastly, code enforcement position. Recently, we had Kevin Matthews begin work last week. He came back to the city of Crescent Springs in this position. Kevin and I have a meeting tomorrow with PDS with Rob and Quentin, basically to sit down and discuss procedures for Kevin, specifically when it gets into warning citations versus the written citations that lead into fines. We're also working with PDS to see if there's any training that obviously Kevin can undertake that would benefit him in that position. Lastly, recently Mayor Hartfield and myself, we had a discussion with Mayor Jansen and Craig Bowman from Villa Hills regarding the idea of partnering together with this position. They are researching the idea with their council and committees, and they will let us know in the near future if they want to partner on this idea. That is all I have, however, there's...
Now, is Kevin just part-time? Is he only working
Yes, sir.
summertime?
Yes, sir. He will be 12 hours with us.
No, but it's only in the summertime.
We have not come to a term on that yet.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say, usually does our code enforcement. Why are we picking somebody up?
Well, Kevin was on board before I started, so he was in that position before I even came into this position last March. That was something that George had thought of, which was a fantastic idea because of the fact that it's better to have a person like Kevin because you can't always get PDS to be here all the time. And we can work with Kevin to work on the specific complaints that we are seeing, whether it be me when I'm out and about in the city, or whether George is out and about, and whether Mayor Hartfield is out and about, because there's a lot of things that Kevin can get done for us, and maybe sometimes we can't overburden PDS.
And it's how many hours?
12 hours. 8 hours will be specifically code enforcement, and 4 hours will be specifically geared around permit applications that construction companies, businesses, they have their proper permits in place.
Which that's not right now, and in the past, it really hasn't been looked at very much. And I know there's a lot of contractors in town that doesn't have licenses.
That makes me nervous.
Yeah.
The other thing I think PDS is going to confirm for us is what the process is and the lengths the city has at its disposal for if violations continue to occur. What's the ultimate
Yes, sir.
leverage we have?
And they are tweaking that process, and I think they eventually want to finalize that process and move forward with it. As far as the fines that do take place over time, and obviously they increase in what direction to go in from there if we work together as a team. And by no means are we unhappy with PDS. We do appreciate our relationship with them. Kevin and Rob do a fantastic job, but like anything with PDS, they have to take care of all of Kenton County, so they have 12 cities that they definitely have to
With all the
follow
extra
up.
construction we got going on, I don't have a problem with it. I just, was surprised to see that, that's all.
Sure.
The only other thing is, you said about the code enforcement, well, PBS has been trying to figure out how to put some teeth in that for a long time.
Right.
Yes.
Have they done it yet?
They have ideas, and I don't have that. No,
Well,
no,
they
they
do
are.
have-
They're
they do
taking
have.
positive steps. They have a draft in place, and I can go back and research that and send it everybody's way so they can take one more look at it. But yes, they have been thinking about it, and obviously they have put a draft in place, so.
But
Does it mean it's foolproof? No.
Yeah, the laws don't allow you to do a lot of things that you think you should be able to do.
Right, I understand.
And once again, I do understand your idea, will it be a seasonal thing? Ultimately, it could lead to that because in the wintertime, obviously, code enforcement responsibilities change totally different from the spring and summertime responsibilities.
Well, I don't think Dewey's doing enough. Why don't we just put him in it?
Thank you.
Dewey, we'll move on quickly from that idea.
Yeah. Mayor's report, I don't have anything. Next item is old business. Second reading of ordinance 2020-1, approval of stage 2 development plans for 2400 Sarah Lane.
Ordinance 2020-1, an ordinance of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky approving a Stage 2 development plan for 2400 Sarah Lane, an area of approximately .9 acres located at the northwest corner of the intersection of Sarah Lane and Queen City Avenue in Crescent Springs, Kentucky, being approximately 200 feet from Anderson Road. Whereas a Stage 2 development plan has been submitted to the Kenton County Planning and Development Services, PDS, for an area known as 2400 Sarah Lane, an area of approximately .9 acres located at the northwest corner of the intersection of Sarah Lane and Queen City Avenue in the city of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, being approximately 200 feet from Anderson Road. And whereas the city of Crescent Springs approved a stage 1 development plan for the aforementioned property in municipal order 2015-15, and whereas the city of Crescent Springs further entered into a development agreement with TriStar Ventures specifying design guidelines for Crescent Springs, and the city adopted municipal order 25-18 authorizing the execution of that agreement, and whereas changes have been made with the agreement of PDS staff and the city in June of 2016, and whereas the staff of PDS is recommending adoption of the submitted Stage 2 development plan, subject to the condition that large trees between the subject site and adjacent condos be preserved as part of the landscaping plan, and additional landscaping will be used to fill in where necessary. Now therefore be it ordained by the mayor and city council of the city of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, as follows. The Stage 2 development plan submitted to Kenton County PDS as set forth in the report of that body being hereby is approved, provided that the additional condition that the large trees between the subject site and adjacent condos be preserved as part of the landscaping plan, and that additional landscaping will be used to fill in as necessary.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
Just real quick on that landscaping plan, George and I reviewed that recently when he was back in town. In the landscaping area, there are definitely some trees that are not doing so well. They're actually dying, so there are trees that they're going to keep in place. However, there will be some trees that will be removed, just so everybody understands that. That's all I have.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 2020-1.
I'll second
Christy Arlinghouse,
Yes.
Joe McMonagle,
Yes.
Patrick Hackett,
it. Yes.
Bob Mueller,
Yes.
Vince Albanese.
I'm gonna recuse myself from this.
Okay.
Okay, passes 4-1.
4-0.
4-0, I'm sorry. You can recuse. Okay. Next item is new business. Resolution 2020-2, SERS.
Resolution 2020-2, resolution of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, supporting House Bill 484, currently pending in the Kentucky General Assembly. Whereas the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky has employees vested in the County Employees Retirement System. Whereas employer contribution rates for county employees' retirement system continue to increase, putting a strain on municipal budgets. Whereas total assets of the county employees' retirement system are about $13.5 billion, and it is 76% of pension assets controlled by the Kentucky Retirement Systems. Whereas the current 17-member Kentucky Retirement Systems Board of Trustees has only 6 seats for county employees' retirement system representatives. Whereas the Kentucky Retirement Systems Investment Committee has no county employees' retirement system representatives, and the Actuarial Subcommittee has only 1 seat for a county employees' retirement system representative. Whereas the Kentucky Retirement Systems earns investment income for the county employees' retirement system below amounts earned by peer groups, and investment income is a vital component of improving the pension system's funding level. Whereas the ACERS Board of Trustees solely focused on investment decisions, actuarial data, and asset allocations of the county employees' retirement system would ensure decisions made for the system are in its best interest. Whereas House Bill 484 creates a 9-member County Employees Retirement System Board of Trustees, whose sole responsibility is the management of the County Employees Retirement System. Whereas it is in the best interest of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, and its employees, that the county employees' retirement system functions in an affordable and actuarially sound manner. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky supports House Bill 484 and calls upon the General Assembly and legislators representing this community to pass the measure to reorganize the Kentucky retirement systems and create an independent county employees retirement system board of trustees.
Any questions or comments? Need a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-2.
Pat's made a motion.
I'll second.
Christie second.
Vince Albanese.
Yes.
Christie Arlinghouse.
Yes.
Joe McMonagle.
Abstain.
Patrick Hackett.
Yes.
Bob Mueller.
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Okay. First reading of ordinance 2020-2, amending city's personnel policy and procedure.
Ordinance 2020-2, an ordinance of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, amending the city's personnel policy and procedures to modify the salary range and status for the position of city administrator. Be it ordained by the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, Section 1, Ordinance 2015-1 and Ordinance 2019-2 are hereby amended by amending the status of the position of city administrator as set forth in said ordinances. The mayor shall have the discretion to employ a full-time city administrator at the salary range as set forth in Ordinance 2017-4. In all other respects, the description of the office of city administrator is hereby reaffirmed and incorporated herein by reference. Section 2, all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are to the extent of such conflict hereby repealed. This ordinance shall be effective from its passage and publication according to law.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Next item, first reading of ordinance 2020-3, amending the city's nuisance ordinance.
Ordinance 2020-3, an ordinance of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, amending the nuisance code with regard to noise or sounds within the limits of the city. Whereas the City of Crescent Springs has long had a public policy with regard to the emission of noise or sounds which become noxious enough to destroy the enjoyment in dwellings or other uses of property in the vicinity by interfering with the ordinary comforts of human existence. And whereas the city has reviewed the issues regarding the emanation of noise or sounds occurring within the city limits, and now therefore be ordained by the mayor of the city, the mayor and the city council of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, that the Crescent Springs Code of Ordinance, Section 92.08, subsection 16, is hereby amended as follows. The language in Section 92.08, subsection 16 is deleted, and in its place the following is inserted. Subparagraph 16, noise control. Emission of noise or sounds which is noxious enough to destroy the enjoyment of dwellings or other uses of property in the vicinity by interfering with the ordinary comforts of human existence. Subsection A, no person shall make, continue, or cause to be made or continued any loud, unnecessary, or unusual noise, or any noise that either annoys, disturbs, injures, or endangers the comfort, repose, health, peace, or safety of others within the city between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. the following morning, in either a public or private place or house in the city. The following loud, disturbing, and unnecessary noises are considered public nuisances in violations of this code, but said list shall be deemed all-inclusive. The operation or causing the operation of any whistle, rattle, bell, gong, clapper, drum, horn, piano, radio, calliope, phonograph, or other sound-producing or sound amplifying instrument, or the calling, shouting, or in any other way or manner creating noise or sound in such a manner as to disturb the peace and quiet of a neighborhood, or to interfere with the transaction of business or other ordinary pursuits. Subsection B. Sounds created by construction and emanating from construction sites between the hours of 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays and 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. on Saturdays, which are not legal holidays. Sounds emanating from the construction sites or on Sundays or legal holidays or outside of the exempt work hours are prohibited. The hours during which sound caused by construction or construction sites may be expanded upon a showing of good cause by an applicant, and such expanded hours are authorized by the mayor or his or her designee. Subsection C. Nothing herein shall be construed to affect the usual and reasonable operation of railroads, electric railways, or motor buses, prohibit the reasonable use of personal vehicles and ordinary noises attendant thereto, athletic contests, or lawful public meetings, parades, or celebrations.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
How does fireworks fit into this, or do we have a separate ordinance for
Well,
fireworks?
that's what they would, that's me. It's okay.
Yeah.
They have that.
That's what he said?
We would have that
Yeah.
final say on that decision of that example, yes.
Okay.
And would this cover like lawn mowers, weed whackers, stuff like that?
Yeah.
If you're out during that time frame, yes.
Okay, just checking.
Okay.
Boy, my neighbor's gonna be mad.
Any questions from the
It's
audience?
not Sunday morning.
Comments?
It's not good Sunday.
Anybody like to speak? Okay. Thank you all for coming. Finance meeting is March the 11th. Economic Development meeting, March 18th, and our next caucus meeting will be March 23rd. Need a motion?
I make a motion.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
Sunday morning.
Who seconded that, Patrick?
Oh, Nick's already got one.
Anything will happen.
They